What's up, everybody? Whew. It's hot outside. I had enough people ask me about my bumper idea. What I'm doing is taking the stock bumper, doing the tire carrier setup in jerry cans on the driver's side, a normal dual swing setup, but utilizing the stock bumper. So I didn't want to spend, $1,500 on a setup. So what I did was took those, and what they're going to be doing is poking through some holes right here on the bumper. So what I did was basically came off the frame with two tabs, both sides, and I'm bolted on. It might need some extra gussets, but I'm going to run with it and see how it does. What I did was use this hinge kit is from A to Z Fabrication, so I'll link down below what I got. A few things I would change if I was to do it again. The way that it is and the holes being so low on the bumper, I can't lift the bumper up and over and drop it on over it. I actually have to poke them through the bumper and move the bumper and the two brackets here all at the same time, put it on the car, and then with the bumper kind of hanging off, bolt it up. You'll kind of see how I do that since it's about time to mount them up. And I'll show you kind of what I do with the tabs. I welded up some, they're actually doubled up 1/8 inch tabs. So 1/4 inch top and bottom, and then they're 1/2 inch bolts that will go through. I did the same thing over here. So I painted it yesterday, so it's still a little sticky. I think it'll hold. If not, what I might do, let me go back. So when I put them in here later, what I might do is add a little support here just to keep the holes from ovaling out. And that's kind of how it is, how far it'll hang back. I do like it bolt on, but probably the difference is if I was to do it again, I'd make this part more on the frame rail, and then I'd bolt it on here. That way I can just kind of do a last minute stub through with just these pieces right here, and then this will all be on the car. So it kind of makes it a little bit of a challenge trying to wedge in there, get in there, but hey, it'll look good, I think, when it's done. Now you'll see what I have to do, try to get it in the car with it this way, and you'll kind of see why it's hard with one person. It's much easier with a partner, but I'm by myself, so I gotta make it work. Alright, so now basically you have to go from underneath. Let's see if I can even... If you go underneath, you get to see you have access here, so you can get your hand above it. It's not the quickest way, but it works. And once it's on there, I mean, you don't have to do it again and again and again. And I got my bumper on. That's a little harder than I thought to do. When I mocked it up before, it's a lot easier, but got it on. Shake test though, it's not going anywhere. But both sides are on pretty good. I mean, I can stand on it. These things don't move. Forgot to mention I use 2x2 188 wall here, and then I'm connected to 2x3 120 wall. So it's 120 wall, it goes to the frame, and then for my tabs I doubled up on 1/8 inch tabs because I didn't have anything thicker. It's really easy to work with, so I just kind of welded one on top of the other. Now what I'm going to do is do a plate that covers this area, and that's when you close it, they're going to slam into there and latch to that cover plate, so it kind of looks stock covering this plate. I'm going to use both these bolts to mount it. Basically on the plate I'll cut a little hole, put a sleeve in it, piece cut back, I can bolt straight through it. So you'll see these, but it'll kind of hang down. And then when I close it, I'll have a piece of Delrin in between. That way it doesn't scuff it up too much. But I think it'll be pretty good. Okay, gotta make the plate. So my thought is to have each swinger come hit against this thing and that take the stop, and then I'll basically put those hooks for the latches on here, but it gives me something to mount it to. So I just recreated the stock piece with some, I think it's just 16 gauge, but it's pretty rigid, so I'm going to try to go with that. So I'll kind of trial and error, so we'll see how it goes. Time to do the fun part though. So we're going to get started on the arms. Basically I'm just going to do one at a time. I do have to put a little bend in it, so I'm going to try to match the body line here. Hopefully we can get it straight. So see how accurate I am with my angles. Once I welded up, ended up finding the center, cut about 3/4 of an inch over. Have about 1 to 1.5 inch gap in between the two. And it sits a little high here, but I didn't want this thing any lower because I didn't want it to drag. I'm okay with it being high. I'm gonna have to do a vertical around my ladder and then do the jerry cans around that. No, it's coming out good now. And as the hard side, just try and get it measured up and figure out lengths and angles. Now I just have to mirror it, do the other side. Gotta kill it for the night. I only have a couple hours at night to do this stuff before I have to clean up the mess and keep going. It'll latch down to the bottom here, trying to figure out how I want to do it exactly. Not too sure how, but we'll figure it out and go from there. So I got a little bit of work done yesterday. New day. So, yeah, I'm kind of doing this over a span of a few days. Got the latches on. Yeah, got the plates down that basically butt up to this cover plate I made, which kind of see what I did here. I did 1/8 inch plate, which I'm going to gusset because it's a little flimsy. Just tacked on right now, but used a sheet of 3/8 Delrin here. It'll cover this hole here just like this one is, and what we'll do is then it'll latch onto these. I just have general bolts right now. I'll replace them all with grade A bolts once I figure everything out. One hand is kind of a challenge. I did get T-pins for the hinges over here. You know, I can lock it open without it hitting the side of the truck. From there I got to cap the ends here, and then we're going to start doing our vertical risers. Get one for the tire side with kickers going to the ends, and then we'll work around the ladder for this one over here to for the fuel cans. It's coming out pretty good. Just a little minor cleanup on some of the grinds. I got to weld this in, add the gussets, and we'll go from there. So as you can see, got all the verticals on the little kickers. So kind of see right there. Yeah, so verticals are in, kickers are in. I'm just tacking them all for now. And I gotta do the top up here, going to the spare tire. So that's gonna kick off at an angle. I gotta figure out the angle. I got my spare in. I got a matching stock wheel. And then my old Coopers, which are the pizza cutter tires. So those will be pretty good. They're a little lighter than the BFGs. So we're going to do that top part. Coming off the vertical, we have to cap the other tubes, the other 2x3. And once we get that, I got some 1/4 inch plate somewhere down here in my pile. So I got some 1/4 inch that I'm going to make the plate for all the wheel studs. So first I got to figure out what my angle is going to be for the tire. I want it nice and tight to the hatch. So that's kind of the benefit of doing it how I am. Keeps everything tighter. Hopefully it doesn't shake and bump into my hatch, but I'll get going on that. It's coming along good. I'm just tacking everything now. I weld better off the table. I'm not saying I'm the greatest welder, but at least I could pull it off and then weld everything up and start painting. I'm in crunch time because I'm going out of town in it's Wednesday, and I leave Friday morning, so I really have tonight and tomorrow night to try to finish this thing, as well as do the cans for the fuel jugs. I'm kind of doing it quick, so I just got some angle iron, some flat stock that I'll throw in. Just got little bits and pieces and a lot of welding and a lot of painting. On to the next part. Just trying to get an idea of what it looks like. And yeah, that is a computer holding it up right there. Perfect. So I did my layout on the back side. You can see the center hole. Spun a 5.5 inch circle. And then it's 6 slugs, so every 60 degrees from there, wherever it hits on the circle is your mark, and then double check all, between spacings and stuff like that. So now I just got around the edges. Now we'll weld it on here. I think it'll come out pretty good. I could plate that in right there. Cool, this gives me some adjustability later if I go bigger tires. Raise the whole thing up too, so we'll go with that. Tacked it on, came out pretty good. Pretty sturdy. Gotta take it off now, weld it all up. It's all welded up. I ended up bringing it to my work, having somebody help me weld. They're a little better at welding than I am, and I have a little 110 that keeps popping the breaker, that little guy. So I ended up bringing it to work, getting all the big stuff MIG'd at work, some mine. Those are my welds, his welds. So I'm starting to replace all the hardware now with all the grade 8 hardware, now that I actually know what size to use. I use just the stock retaining bolts for the receiver bolts. Sorry, it's hot. It's 90s here, a little bit of breeze, but it doesn't help when you're welding and grinding and stuff. So now I'm just starting to bolt it back on. I gotta put all the latches back on, and then gonna work on the jerry can. So I didn't want to rush my jerry can holder when I went to my Arizona trip. What I ended up doing was I relocated my license plate. There. Reloaded my license plate and then just kind of tested it with the tire on it to see what weak links there were. Did find a couple that I'll have to improve on. For now, the version 1.0, I'm just going to get the jerry cans on. The latches, I need to change the design, or I want to. I think the material's just too thin. What happens is right here, you kind of see there's a little slight bend in it. As you tighten it down and just the bouncing around, that's kind of as you get it tighter and tighter pulls. Because the material's so thin, it actually eats into this the piece of the latch here, or the hook, I guess. So I think thickening up, it'll be a broader surface and it won't create a little divot in there. For now, it works, it holds. It's actually pretty stout. Had people on the trail follow me and they said that thing wasn't moving. I'm pretty happy about that. So I'll get the jerry can set up on using these here from, got these from 4Runner. I upgraded on the water jug to their metal spigot. That should be a little more bulletproof than the plastic one that comes with it. Has a little hose bib screw on it, so you can use that as needed. But I'm just going to do basically for now, just an angle iron frame. I'll kind of do a border around it, and then I gotta figure out the latches. So I picked these up from Amazon, so I'm going to these little steel hinges to figure out a way to make a little lid that goes over it. Just figuring out as I go. Yeah, all right, off to do that. What I did was basically going to do double miter, have the verticals come up here, and then it'll latch over the back, and I'll have some diagonal supports that you'll see. Basically made the bottom frame, and it's going to be built up from here. So that's the start of it so far. Yeah, I got my verticals on. I'm going to be having another, I think it's 1 inch or 1.25 inch. Inch and a quarter. I'll be running more 1 1/4 inch from here down, and then I'll do another across here. And I think it's going to be pretty rigid. I'm going to grind all the welds flush, just for aesthetics. I'll probably weld the inside of the ribs too, so you kind of see my little double miters there. So I got my verticals all up. I got the diagonal kickers all in. Kind of grinded them smooth just for looks. I got to weld the inside still, but I mean, it's pretty stout. I put it on. Basically did tabs off the back side. So you can see they're just tacked on for now, bolted on, but 4 bolts to hold. And I think it's pretty sturdy. Now, I mean, I gotta weld the tabs on, and then I'll build the locking lid for it. I still have to figure out how I want to do that exactly. Where I want to have the latch. I gotta put my license plate out here, but there it is so far. So, change of plans. I was going to work on the jerry can mount, but tomorrow is the Field of Vets event, and I wanted to get this thing on and paint it because I'm tired of fighting rust. I painted it and get that on. This part is bolt on. I can paint this piece and not have to worry about it. So that will go on in a little bit. I do have to go buy some new bolts. I need some countersunk bolts in some spots because of clearance. You can see with the bolt heads I had. I touched it up, but I had bolt marks. Again, work in progress. Eventually, I'm going to change the bottom plates for the latches. I'll probably do something on the vertical rib that goes along the side, because it's too thin a material, it does bend. Oh, it's still a little tacky. So I'm gonna work on putting these back on. I'll start working on this thing. What I'm gonna do is put this piece up here. I'll cut it to fit and weld on. That will give it the rigidity. It was bending down. This piece right here was bending in as I put weight. And since I want this thing kind of bulletproof, I'm going to stiffen it with an angle. If this is up here, I'll now have room for the hinges to come down for the cover, and then it gives me options for running an amber light for a dust light. So I got it all on, got everything bolted. I left these 2 out just until I get some bolts for that, some countersunk ones, just to kind of sink it closer and get it away from the bumper. And I'm going to leave the tire off until tomorrow morning, just let the paint dry a little bit more. I'm probably going to weld up that angle onto the jerry can mount, and then I'll bolt it on up, and then at least it'll be on there then for tomorrow for the event. So I got those T-handles on. Yeah, make sure you weld those threaded bungs a little further away from the sleeve, because when you go tighten that, if you paint it, it'll rub and chip off all the paint. I'll have to touch that up a little bit, but came out pretty good so far. I'll get that one piece welded up, and then I will mount it on up. So I ended up putting a piece of angle there. I'll end up putting another one down here. I just want my license plate on before the event tomorrow. It's pretty sturdy. The LEDs, got the LED bolts on here. It's sturdy now. That thing's not flexing at all, so it should hold up pretty fine. I'm gonna have this at the event tomorrow, and then once that's done, I'll start working on the lid. That's about it. Everything else is pretty good. I mean, good enough for this video. I don't know what I'm going to do with the latches yet, but it works, but I'm going to change it, make it a little bit better. So far it's coming out good. So kind of see what I'm doing for the jerry can lid, the cover. So I'm just kind of using scrap, whatever I have left over. I got these hinges off Amazon, little steel hinges, no holes, so I can weld onto it. Basically I'll notch everything, kind of make it look a little pretty once I weld it, but just kind of what I have. Little tab latch with a lock, because people will steal jerry cans, so make sure you get some of those. And basically across the top here, 2 straps going back, and then latch down in the middle. So gotta tack them all together, make sure everything opens up, because you want these things lined up or else it will bind when you try to open it. So you gotta have those things perfectly in line with each other when welding it all together. Winging it as I go through this, but it's coming out. Most of this small scrap I just got at Home Depot. I didn't go to a metal yard, so I probably spent a little bit more than I could have if I got it actually cut. I want to get my cans on there, I want to lock it down. I kind of just want to get it finished so I can do some trips, make sure it's all on there. But I got the rest is all painted. Got my dust caps on here, got the T-pins on, so got those on. It's holding, so I'll finish this and then that'll kind of wrap up this video once I get all this stuff on. But all my lessons learned, where I got everything, what I'll do different next time if I redesign it. But yeah, I'm kind of happy with it so far. I'll get the rest finished up hopefully today. Got it all tacked together. I actually used a piece of wood when tacking on. Just kind of put it up against there just to keep them in line with each other. Seemed to work. I kind of held it in place and it doesn't bind up, so I think I got it lined up. Going to finish welding it up, grind it nice and smooth, grind these corners, kind of make it look a little prettier. But yeah, should be pretty good. So basically sit like that. I'll probably line the bottom here with like a rubber or foam or something that won't corrode, and then get it welded on. This lines up. I'll get the latch on. I'm going to probably weld the hook on, but I think quick lid, but it works, so it'll do its purpose and hold. I welded all the outsides, so I'll leave the inside raw, but the outside, what I've been doing is grinding it down just flush. Makes it look a little nicer. Do the same thing here, notch the corners around the ends over here, but I think I'll make it look a lot nicer. And then once I get that on, I could mount the latch, drill the holes, bolt it on, and then we can tack the hinges on. It's nice what a little grinder can do. So you can see I kind of have these things clamped down in the back. What I did was I figured out my center lines here. Took a square just to kind of line them up. Make sure that when it closes, it's centered. So it goes up, goes down. Yeah, so when this thing pulls down, it'll keep both these down. It'll kind of twist. The water can's slightly taller than the gas can. So it'll probably, as it tightens down, it'll twist a hair, but I mean minimal. I did it overlapped all the way just in case I did a different can, and you see how this one's centered, this one is off to one side, centered. Different types of cans, I didn't know if any would change. So another thing I might do, so you can see my water spout down here, it kind of overlaps where this angle is. So what I'm going to do is actually notch that out. That way I can just, from here I can work the lever, drain water, then I don't really ever have to take out my water can. It's all about the little things making it easier. Doing one last test fit here before I tack on the hinges, because once I tack those on, there's no turning back. So since everything will be welded here, I can't really fix that if I screw it. Ended up putting the latch on. I centered up, I just marked each hole and drilled it, but you'd see when we latch it, because this can's taller than this one, it kind of pulls down on one side, where this can is more snug, this one's a little loose. So that's where I said I might have to do something on the front here just to kind of grab onto it a little bit better. But I think it's good as far as that goes. So I think I'm going to tack that on, and that'll about wrap it up finally. this is it. So it's in there good. It's not moving around. Things don't shake. But just a cheapy lock on it right now until I go get a combo lock. But all I did is the wire tie just so it doesn't bounce around. I wanted the latch the other way, but there was no good way to do it with the license plate. That way the lock could bounce on the handle part, but this will work. Pretty much all I'll have left to do is paint it the same way I did the other side, and then my wiring for, you can kind of see, wiring for license plates. That way I get the little LED brackets on there. But no, I'm gonna call it done, I think. Yeah, I had to tighten the bolts down the bottom. Kind of have to take off this piece down here to get to it, but yeah, you pop that off and you access the 2 bolts on the bottom. Right there. So you can see them in there. And then you get the other 2 from in here. Those, I think, just settled after my first trip with it. So I tightened that up and it hasn't had a problem. I will eventually up this gauge here because you can kind of see that it grooves out a little bit in there. So a thicker surface area in there will prevent that, I'm hoping. So I'll get it a little thicker and then I'll do a vertical rib that runs to the side of this piece and down. For now, I mean, it holds. I just it slowly bends over time. But yeah, that will, I mean, it'll hold for the time being. I just have to look at it after each trip. Jerry can, I mean, that thing's solid. It's not going anywhere. And yeah, that's it. If you want, look at down below. I'll have links to all the parts, everything I use. Take this, and if you want to copy and do the same thing, go ahead and learn from my mistakes. I'm not a fabricator, I'm not a welder. I just have some welding classes from school, but I haven't welded in years before this project. This is actually the first thing I've actually built. Just my little disclaimer there. So take it as you want, make improvements by all means. I enjoy doing this type of stuff, and it's a test to myself. So it's kind of fun. I didn't just buy an off-the-shelf thing. I'm not a professional. I don't make money doing this or anything, so just a fun little project that I was working on. Yeah, it's fun. I like building my own things. Save some weight, save some money. It's a little cheaper. I didn't total everything up. I'll try to get that total right at the bottom. If not, it'll come and I'll post it later. But nothing was given to me, nothing was discounted, so when I get that price, it'll be accurate to what the normal guy is. Probably cost more because I went to Home Depot for some of the metal. If I went to a metal yard, it would have been a lot cheaper, but I didn't know what I wanted, so I just picked little scrap pieces I saw. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the build. People seem to like it. Everyone wants me to draw it up in CAD, which was my original thing. Might be an option of what I'll do, is basically reverse engineer all the measurements and then I'll draw something up in CAD. CAD's what I do for a living, so I can draw that up in one of the programs and get it so it can be laser cut and maybe do a weld it yourself kit. That's what people are asking of me, so nothing's done now. That'll be probably months away if I do it, just because I have some other items I want to release and do first that I've been working on in the back scene. Follow the links, like, subscribe. I'll try to do more tech videos too if you guys like this one. But yeah, hit the like button, show me that you do enjoy this, and I'll do more. Thanks.